Welcome to the Progress Zone podcast, where we help you create real momentum in your mindset, business, health, and life. I'm your host, Jody Donaldson, and every week we'll explore the small, intentional steps that lead to big, lasting growth. This isn't about hype, it's about habits. So let's get started. Well, hey everyone, welcome back to the Progress Zone, the show where we talk about real growth, intentional progress, and building a life that aligns with who you are, not just what you do. Today's guest is someone who has helped thousands of real estate investors gain clarity around their money, confidence in their decisions, and control over their future. He's a CPA, a business owner, and an educator who specializes in working with short-term rental investors. But what really sets him apart is how he simplifies complex ideas and builds trust through his education. Through his work, he's helped the people stop reacting to their finances and start making proactive, intentional decisions. And along the way, he's built a strong community focused on long-term thinking, consistency, and real results. I'm excited to dive into the story and how it all started and what continues to drive him today. So Ryan Bakke, welcome to the Progress Zone.
Hi, I'm happy to be here, Jody. Thank you.
Well, before we get into the work that you're doing today, and I'm really excited to hear more about that, I want people to get to know you a little bit. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started?
Yeah, it all started. I live in the Southwest Chicago suburb. I'm actually a Packers fan, and we're playing the Bears on Saturday.
No Bears.
Grew up kind of blue collar household. My dad was an electrician. My dad worked at the same company for 40 years, never had another job. Worked for ComEd his entire life. Retired at 58 2 years ago, and my mom stayed at home and took care of us. And a lot of the motivation and drive that I have, it came from my dad. And in particularly, I remember I was in freshman year of high school, and I studied so hard for this math test. Actually, math used to not be my best subject, even though I'm a CPA. And I just couldn't get calculus, pre-trig. And I remember studying for this math test, and I got home and I got a B+ on it, and I was super excited. And my dad goes, "Oh, that's great, son. You're not gonna have to work with your hands and your back like I did. You can work with your brain." Right. And that gave me motivation and drive to go into college to study accounting and finance, to really help people.
Yeah. That's awesome. Growing up though, besides that story, were you wired toward numbers and structure, or did that kind of develop later once you were in college and started taking some of the courses?
Yeah, I was always, it's funny, I went to K through 8 there was only 12 other kids in our class, and my dad always made a joke that he's like, "Yeah, my son Ryan, he's top 10 in his class," And when I got to college, that's when I really started caring about grades and doing well. And I come from I have 2 other siblings, and I'm the oldest. So I knew I had to set the bar really high for them. Because I've seen how my friends talk about their older siblings, like, "Oh yeah, my older brother, he's like in and out of jobs, can't really get it right, been to jail." And I never wanted my siblings to say the same thing about me.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty powerful too. I mean, that's a motivation right there, I believe. Other than, having that kind of, guidance and feedback from your dad and validation, was there anything else that early on in your life that actually prepared you for what you're kind of doing today, even if you didn't realize it at the time?
I had some really good coaches in my life from volleyball. I played high school volleyball, travel volleyball, and also in college. And I've had some really good mentors and role models. We had a saying in college called "No BCD." No blaming, no complaining.
I like that.
No blaming, no complaining. And the D in that is disputing. It's your fault. It's always, be the one that points the finger back at you instead of at somebody else. Right. Yeah. And not enough people, even if it's not your fault, admit it. Take some sort of responsibility and accountability for it and for the team, because as a business owner now, just like I was a team captain in my volleyball, we take responsibility. We celebrate the wins, but more importantly, with losses, we have to take responsibility for that too. It's so funny going to that locker room after a win and the conversation that looks like versus a loss. Those locker room conversations are a lot longer and more infuriating after a loss. But as business owners, entrepreneurs, we have to take responsibility for the wins and, more importantly, the losses too.
Yeah, for sure. So after college, you went in, got your CPA. Let me ask you, when did accounting stop feeling kind of like just like it's a job, but you start feeling that this became something bigger and that there was an opportunity for you in the space that you're in now?
Yeah, when I was in college, my biggest goal was to get into a Big Four accounting firm.
Right.
And I went to a small Christian college where we had maybe 2 accounting firms that were really small that would recruit us. The Big Four were nowhere to be found. And I actually applied to Deloitte 27 times before I got a job interview.
Oh my gosh.
And they probably thought I was crazy. But I got into Deloitte, I got my CPA, and then about a year and a half in, I'll never forget, I was on our partner's rooftop in Chicago, and he's sitting around a couple of us. He goes, guys, being partners great and all, but my daughter just turned 18 and I've only been to 3 of her soccer games in her entire life.
Oh man, that's a gut punch.
And so you think of like, I'm going to scale the corporate ladder. I'm going to be a partner at Deloitte one day. And then you see the person that you would like to be saying that. And the very next day I formed my first LLC, started planning my Shawshank Redemption of an escape plan from corporate America.
Nice.
And next thing you know, about 7 months later, I quit Deloitte. And it wasn't that I was running away from something, but I was running towards something that was a lot better, right? And fast forward 4 years later, we have 1,500 clients. We have 40 employees. 8 figures in revenue, and I get to fulfill my passion every single day, which is helping people, real estate investors and business owners in particular, save money on taxes so that they have more time, so they don't have to work as hard, and they can spend that time doing the things that they love, which is mostly spending time with their family or extracurricular activities outside of work. And that's what I love to do. I love to teach, educate, influence, persuade people into living their best life. And how do you help them save money on taxes, right?
Yeah, that is huge. And, because the work that you've done and the education that you provided, you've really it's like you said, you narrowed the focus to real estate investors and business owners, but even you do a lot with short-term rental folks in the real estate space, not just long-term investors or anything else. Why specifically those areas? Were you seeing like a gap in services or just a lack of knowledge and education about those entities that you said, hey, I could really help people in this more? What about those areas attracted you to it?
I always had an eye for real estate. My finance professor in college was used to trade REITs and real estate backed securities on Wall Street, and always teaching us about real estate. But it really stemmed from my first job in public accounting when I was an intern. I was preparing 2 tax returns one day, and one was a married couple who made $200,000 a year, and another one was a single guy living in Chicago who owned 18 apartment buildings. And he made $400,000 a year. So he made double their income, and he was in a single bracket, which means you pay more in taxes if you're single compared to married. Yet he paid less in taxes than the married couple. And I thought to myself, I'm like, did I do it wrong? Am I going to get fired? And I go to my boss, Jim. I was like, Jim, how does this work? Like, did I do it wrong? And he goes, no, it's because he invests in real estate. That's why he doesn't pay any taxes. And I've probably spent the last 8 years of my life, actually more, probably 10 years of my life now, figuring out exactly how like real estate investors and entrepreneurs can pay little to nothing in taxes and not necessarily reduce their taxable income down to 0 every year, but reduce the lifetime tax that we pay. Not enough people think about how can I save the most amount of money this year, but not how can I save the most amount of money over the course of my life? Taxes are the largest expense you'll ever have.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, in those early days when you, like right after you left the firm and you were really branching off on your own before you've grown to where you were today, was it how complex the work was running the business, or maybe like how much trust people needed to have in you before they moved forward with you as a client? Because I'm sure that's hard, that client acquisition early on when you're like trying to build it and grow it. So anything surprised you the most during that time?
I'm sure I had a lot of people that chose not to work with me, especially when I was 23 and just starting off. I mean, I got my CPA license when I was 21. Wow. I was probably the youngest CPA in the state of Illinois at the time. I don't know if that record still holds true, but the reason why they decided to work with me is because I was also a real estate investor.
Yeah.
Because how many people's CPAs that they have don't own real estate?
Yeah.
Or how many people's CPAs, if I'm an entrepreneur and I'm buying companies and buying businesses like I am now, how many people's CPAs also buy businesses?
Right.
They don't. People want to work with people that they feel understand them, that get them, that, if you're looking for a real estate CPA, especially in the short-term rental space, they should be able to rattle off every single market. Smokies, Destin, Gulf Shores, all the different, short-term rental markets, right?
Yeah.
Because people want to work with people they feel like they can trust, but more so that they relate to.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true. Well, when someone comes to you, in the beginning and they're feeling maybe just overwhelmed or confused about taxes, which we know the tax code's this big and it's just chaos. And what's usually the first thing that you want them to understand about the process and about the services you provide?
This is going to sound crazy and weird and somewhat not manipulative, but persuasive to an extent. But I follow something that every entrepreneur, anybody who's building a community, any thought leader should know. And it's something called one sentence persuasion, written by a guy named Blair Warren in the late 90s, early 2000s. You can't even find this book online anymore.
Wow.
And the outline of the book is, if you want to persuade people and you want to build community, you need to do these 5 things. Number 1, you need to support their dreams. Hey, I'm a real estate investor just like you. I understand exactly what you're going through. I'm here to support you on your mission to achieve financial freedom. Yeah. You got to allay their fears. Hey, everything's going to be okay, right? I know you're scared to buy your first property or your second property, but as long as you follow my simple 3-step framework for analyzing a rental property, everything's going to be okay, right? You have to justify their previous failures in life. Hey, it's not your fault. It's not your fault you don't know how to buy real estate. Of course, the school system didn't teach you. They didn't teach you to be an owner. They didn't teach you to be a lender. They taught you to be an employee as well as somebody that pays interest, right? So it's not your fault you don't know this because the system was designed for that. You also have to confirm their suspicions, okay? People are walking around with suspicions in their mind about why they are where they're at in life, and it's your job to just confirm it. Hell yeah, you pay a lot of money in taxes. You're a doctor living in California making $500,000 a year. Right. I just have to confirm the thought that they have in their head. And then lastly, we have to throw rocks at their enemies, right? The enemy of the enemy is my friend. So who's our enemy? Banks, the IRS, corporate America, right? Insert enemy, right? And that's how you sort of build an audience and a community. Now, in a negative connotation, people have used this same framework for evil. That's what we call cults. In a positive light, that's what we call a community. So it starts with that. And you don't have to sit there and film it step by step every time. A lot of times I'll take 1 or 2 of those and plug it into what I say. But man, if you just figure out how to get a hold of that book online, and understand that one sentence persuasion, it'll change your life when it comes to being a community leader, a thought leader, and somebody that people look up to as an authority in this space. Yeah,
I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. I had not heard of that. So I'm definitely going to try to peruse the internet and see what I can find out on it, because that definitely sounds interesting. And it makes sense.
Somebody told me this one time, and it'll never will ever leave my mind. And he said that people are walking around with their umbilical cord in their hand, looking for somebody to plug it into, right?
Wow.
You have to be the person, the thought leader, that they can plug that umbilical cord into you and learn everything from you. You inspire them, you drive them, you motivate them, because no matter what industry you're in, and I've seen people change industries. I've seen people go from the ground transportation space to the short-term rental space. I've seen people jump and go to different industries. But if you can be that thought leader and the person that somebody wants to plug their cord into, you're going to be successful in whatever endeavor you decide to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. I could see that. It seems to make sense, right? Like people walking around like that because they're needing support and guidance and some connection. So that's interesting. Because you work with so many different people and you with all different backgrounds. Do you see, or like, what is the biggest mistake that you see most investors making? Is it not just financially, but is it how they think about money?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Most people don't understand the time value of money. That a dollar saved in taxes isn't just a dollar saved in taxes. It's compounded, right? If you just save money in taxes and stuck it in the S&P, that will double every 8 years historically. So it's like, it's not the $30,000 that I saved you in taxes this year. It's the fact that it's going to be $60,000 in 8 years. It's going to be $120,000 in 16 years. And in 24, 25 years, that 30 grand that we saved you is not going to be worth $320,000, right?
Yeah.
Time value of money. It's super important. I think the other thing is when it comes to entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate investors, everybody's so focused on paying nothing in taxes. But try going to get a loan as a self-employed person. If you don't have good tax returns, if you're not showing a profit, they don't want to touch it, right?
Yeah.
So it's about what deductions and what expenses can you actually take that the banks will add back to your income, so that way you get the best of both worlds. I show the IRS I don't make as much money, but then the banks will add it back. And most, especially beginner investors, beginner business owners, don't understand that, and they just want to write everything off, and they do it the wrong way, and it hurts them. They can't buy their primary residence. They can't fund a new business deal.
Right.
I always say this. I say, look, guys, I shoot a lot of pool, like at billiards, 8-ball.
Nice.
And when I go out with friends and they're watching me play, they're like, Ryan, you take forever to shoot. Why do you take so long to shoot? Like, just make that shot. It's easy. I go, no, listen, I'm not worried about this shot. I'm worried about where my cue ball is going to end up after the shot. How am I setting myself up for the next deal, right?
Yep.
Over and over and over again is how can you accomplish this one thing, but where does that put you after? I'm not trying to skate to where the puck's at. I'm going to skate to where it's going to be. And business owners, real estate investors need to have that mindset in order to succeed, because, worst thing to do is take out a bunch of debt and tank your debt to income profile. Then you're not going to be able to buy a house for a long time, right? Or a business for a long time. So,
well, I love that too, because I feel like you tie it into more of kind of the mindset around the money as you're educating them on it. And I think I come across people that just seem overwhelmed or confused by it, or paralysis by analysis because they don't know where to even begin. And so, knowing how you are working with your clients and hearing how you build that, when someone works with you, what do you really hope and want for them to walk away with? Not just the dollar savings, because we know that that's going to happen because you know the strategies and techniques to do that. But talk a little bit about that, because I think that's where so many of us get stuck and just not understanding. And, we get into the scarcity mindset, sometimes more than the abundance mindset, and we can't see outside the bigger picture. But can you talk a little bit about that and what folks get when they're working with you, like what you hope them to walk away with?
This business is about one thing and one thing only, and that's the transfer of confidence. You, as a service provider, as a thought leader, are transferring your confidence that they are going to succeed or that you can help them into them. It's all about the transfer of confidence. The client, the investor needs to walk away with the confidence that they're not going to mess it up, that they're not going to do the wrong thing. And with paralysis analysis, it's scary, right? There's a lot that goes in there. That's why I developed a new framework for thinking about paralysis analysis that I call the 60% confidence rule. And it goes something like this. As soon as I'm 60% confident that something's going to work, I move forward and I do it.
Nice.
For people like me who are accountants or financial advisors or lawyers, for us to be 100% sure and confident about something, it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of effort to get there. We're probably going to talk ourselves off the ledge. And right. But now I've developed this thing. It's like, as soon as I'm 60% confident, I do it. And because if you think about the guy that took all his life savings in 2012 and dumped it into Bitcoin, like $36,000.
Yeah.
You think he was 100% confident about that? Not saying this is an investment information here.
Right.
Not that. But for him to be 100% confident about that, he would have had to hire a financial advisor, a lawyer, maybe an accountant, maybe, and they would have all said, no, don't do that. That's a stupid idea, right? To put your entire life savings into Bitcoin, right? Elon Musk, when he started SpaceX to compete with NASA on sending people to outer space, do you think he was 100% confident that it was going to work?
Yeah.
When he created Tesla, the first electronic vehicle company, he was not 100% confident. He was maybe 60% confident, and he did it. And so that's why my proclamation to the world is you just need to be 60% confident about something that's going to work. Don't get fret up in paralysis analysis.
I like that. And it's over the 50% mark, right? So it's like you feel more confident than less. So just do something, just move forward and do that. I love that. That's awesome. Talking about too, building the confidence or sharing the confidence that you have in the clients that you work with. I mean, you've built more than just an audience. I mean, I feel like you've really built a community that you do with your education, your masterminds, and the other folks in the space that are subject matter experts you work with. What did you focus on early to build that trust instead of just attention? Because I know, you can have YouTube channels and you can have social reels that you're putting out, but what really kind of helped build that audience and that community that you've got today?
This is another easy three-step framework for you to follow. The first thing you have to do is become the person of interest at whatever it is that you do, right? So I'm Ryan, the real estate CPA. I help real estate investors save money on taxes. You proclaim that to the world. Just like when your friend becomes a real estate agent for the first time and they post on Facebook, hey, I'm here to help you buy or sell houses. They just tell the entire world. And then you become that person of interest at whatever it is that you do by just repeating that over and over and over again, right? So then those other authorities in the space, they want to connect with you. They want to sync with you because not only can some of your clients be their clients and vice versa, but they want your opinion on stuff, or they might have clients that value your opinion as well. The second thing that's in there is the law of reciprocity. The law of reciprocity, it started from its oldest time, but it really started taking effect when Robert Cialdini wrote the book called Influence in 1986, I think. And his first principle of influence is reciprocation. So people are more likely to give something of value back to somebody that gave them value first, right? So you have to give people value without expecting anything in return. It's what my mentor Bill told me. He goes, you have to give value without expecting anything in return. And there's a study about this that they did at Olive Garden, which is one of the most finest establishments here in the Midwest, by the way. And
that salad's no joke.
They did a study where they had waitresses, because when you finish your meal at Olive Garden, they bring you the bill and they also bring you a chocolate mint, right? One chocolate mint for each person. So the waitress that only came and brought one mint got 12% tip. Another waitress gave the whole table mints, 2 mints, 3 mints per person. She got a 15% tip. But the waitress that made the most amount of money in tips was the waitress that went to the table, left the bill with some mints, went to the kitchen, came back and brought more mints. And what that signaled to the table was she went out of her way to provide us more value, so we're going to tip her more in return for that. It's the law of reciprocity. It's you give something of value to people, they're more likely to return the favor, right? How do you do that? How do you do that on a grand scale? Well, we call them lead magnets, right? Hey, if you want my deal calculator on how to analyze a short-term rental property, all you got to do is punch in your email, right? And so there I am giving somebody something of value for free. All I'm asking is for their email. And then within that, there's a framework called the perfect lead magnet framework that says it's not enough to just get their email in exchange for a template. It's what happens after that. Because the perfect lead magnet, this is a writer downer for everybody, the perfect lead magnet proves to your audience that you can solve a problem that they have while also creating a new problem at the same time, right? I'll give you an example. You just downloaded my short-term rental deal calculator. Now you have the confidence that you need in order to buy a short-term rental property. Now that you have a profitable short-term rental property and it's generating income, you have to learn how to save money on what?
Taxes,
right? So solve a problem, create a problem, right? Now, hey, Jody, we have your tax work. We're going to do some strategy for you, your tax prep. Hey, you got a $25,000 refund. New problem created. Well, if you just leave that refund in a bank account and do nothing with it, it's going to lose value because of inflation and purchasing power. Government says inflation is only 2.5%, 3% a year. If you look at the price of milk, eggs, gas, oil, we all know that's a lot more, right? So what are you going to do with the money? New problem created, right? And then we connect people with lenders, realtors, investment advisors. So it's just solve a problem, create a problem, solve a problem, create a problem, all at the same time. And they want you to do that. You know, the customer is opening their wallet to pay you. What are they keeping their wallet open for? It's also another writer downer, right? I got a person that wants to buy $1 million property in Chicago. Hey, do you have a lender? Do you have a closing attorney? Do you have a title company? Do you have a property manager? Do you have all a GC? Like I can connect them. They're opening their wallet to pay me. What are they keeping their wallet open for? And then the last one of those three is you have to learn how to transfer and receive authority. Okay. So authority is I get on Jody's podcast and now when Jody's audience wants to come work with me for CPA services, I don't have to be vetted as much anymore because I've already been vetted through Jody, right? Jody has a trust and authority with his audience. I'm new. You guys have never seen me before, but you are more likely to trust me because Jody's an authority and I'm linked with Jody. See how that works?
Yeah.
But I also have to give that back to Jody, right? I have to, not only can I receive the authority, I also have to transfer the authority back to that person, right? So I'm going to tell my entire audience and followers to go buy your book. Hey, I went on Jody's podcast. Hey, if you watch this podcast in full, let me know what you think about it. I'll buy you his book and I'll just send it to your address. That's what I would do, right? Example, but we will do that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. That I wasn't expecting that, but no, that's really cool. But it makes, that point that you're trying to bring home about, the reciprocity and continuing to bring value and then have that authority and trust. And like you said, everybody wants to work with people they know, like, and trust, whether it's directly or indirectly with their group of or sphere of influence that they have. So, but yeah, I mean, I tell you, the watching you grow your business and seeing the folks that you're working with and the masterminds you're putting together, I think also being a thought leader and educating on what you do, how much of that growth in your community do you attribute to just simply showing up and being consistent? Because I think a lot of people might start something and then they have a little bit of friction or pushback or something happens and they're like, maybe I'm not meant to do this, or maybe this isn't the way it should be going. I'm tired, I'm done. But you've been consistent, and I've seen it, over the years, and it grow. But I mean, how big of that is a component to what you've built today, do you think?
Going back to college, my volleyball coach said, if you get 1% better every day, you'll be 37% better over the year, which I recently found out that was James Clear of Atomic Habits. But
yep.
For a long time, I give the credit to him because he's the one who said it. But showing up every day and being consistent is like the most important part.
Yeah.
Because you want to almost make it like a religion. If you have a community, if you have a service, like you want your customers and followers to be showing up consistently every day. That's how you're going to be able to lead. That's how you're going to be able to persuade and influence other people. It's almost as if it's just like, so I live in Chicago, even though I'm not a Bears fan. But if you look at the Bears organization and you find out that they play most of their games on Sunday at noon, it's almost like a religion. Yeah. People wake up. People have their coffee, they eat breakfast, they might go to church, and then they turn on the Bears game at Sunday at noon every day like clockwork. And you have to make your community almost like a religion in terms of there's a start time, there's an end time, and this is when we're all going to show up. It's the most important part is being consistent. Also in Robert Cialdini's book called Influence, another one of the influence keys is commitment and consistency, right? So you have to get people to commit to something and you have to get them to be consistent because they'll likely continue to do that. So for example, there's a study, they went to a college campus and they said, hey, out of 100 people, hey, how many of you guys would like to do a 2-week mission trip in Africa? And like 3 people out of 100 said yes, right? But when they went to 100 people and said, hey, how many of you guys want to donate? How many of you guys want to contribute 1 day of your time to donate to a soup kitchen that's going to go to kids in Africa, right? 27 people out of 100 said yes. And then they go to those 27 people and they say, how many of you would like to go on a 2-week mission trip to Africa to do the same thing? Almost half of them said yes, right? It's because they took that initial commitment, that initial action. They raised their hand and said, I want to help, or I have a problem that I want to solve. If you can get people to commit to something, even a smaller task, they're more likely to commit to bigger ask and bigger tasks down the road.
That's interesting. Well, I mean, you help so many other folks and you educate your community and you're a support to many. What keeps you going? Like on the days when the work feels heavy or demanding, what keeps you showing up every day? Because I know it's a lot. I know what goes on behind the scenes. There's a lot of stuff going on, but what keeps you going?
One thing is probably the people that are not here anymore. I've had a lot of good mentors in life. I've lost my best friend to cancer when he was 18, 19 years old. And, I think about, it's like, do the work for 2, do the work of 2, right? The people that aren't necessarily here to live on legacy and to fulfill and big dreams and aspirations, I feel like I got shoes to step in and I have to do the work of 2. Like I have to be the person that's going to change so many lives. And that's where you get this compound effect, right? Because when you really look at it, it's not, oh, we help 1,200 clients, 1,500 clients a year. It's like, how many people are we really helping? Because if you ask me, it could be tens of thousands of people through osmosis, essentially, that I'm helping, right? I help somebody learn how to buy real estate to save money on taxes. There's a lender that's getting paid there and supported. There's an attorney that's getting paid. There's a cleaner that's going to go clean that property and make income off of that. There's guests that are going to be able to take their families on vacation to that short-term rental.
Yeah.
And I just had a little part of that in this giant ecosystem of life that's going on. And when you think about that, it's kind of crazy.
It's crazy, but it's also just amazing to think of it that way, right? Like literally the trickle down effect of everybody that benefits from one little action. So I love that. I think that makes sense. With all the success you've had and the work that you've done, has your definition of success changed since you first started? way back when you were with the Big Four? I know your idea of what you wanted changed, but has your definition of success changed as you've worked with so many folks over the years?
My definition of success actually comes from Russell Brunson, who founded ClickFunnels.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate enough to spend time with Russell at an event that he did a couple years ago. And he goes, the definition of success is achievement plus fulfillment equals success. Not only success is just not achievement. It's not making $1 million a year, making $10 million a year, being the first millionaire in your family, being a multimillionaire by 25. That's achievement. But real success comes from, can you achieve and can you also get fulfillment out of what you do? Achievement plus fulfillment in life equals success. I always tell my clients, I say, if your highest income skill isn't what you're most passionate about, then that high income skill just becomes a means to an end until you can find the job, the opportunity, the passive income to step away from that highest earning skill that you're not most passionate about. Happens all the time. You get doctors who went 8 years in school, took out a bunch of student loan debt, hundreds of thousands of dollars. They get that paid off. They're making $500,000 a year, but they don't get fulfillment out of it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. The achievement's there, but the fulfillment's not. And when you can align your highest income skill with what you're most fulfilled on, you get the most fulfillment out of. That's success to me.
Let me ask you this. This might be a tough one, but if everything that you've built disappeared tomorrow, what part of this journey that you've been on would still matter the most to you? What would matter the most to you still? If everything disappeared tomorrow, what part of the journey and the community that you built and the work that you've done would still matter the most to you, probably? And that's a hard question. I just something that I was thinking about as you were talking, like, you put all this effort and energy into what you've built. If something happened tomorrow, like, what would you still be most proud of and what mattered the most to you of what you've done?
I always go back to the Maya Angelou, right? It's not about the things you did or the things you said. It's the way that you made other people feel. And what I've learned over the last 5 years in entrepreneurship is, how do you build a product or an offer, right? That's something that people actually want and they want to buy. Number one reason why people don't buy, it's not because of price. It's not because of a product specific objection. People don't want what you're selling, right? You have to have something that people actually want to buy in order to sell it. Kind of basic. But everything that I've learned about sales, marketing, fulfillment, persuasion, I could lose it all and go plop into a different industry and be right back, I think, in 5 years, 10 years. They've actually kind of done studies about this, right? They've always said, hey, if you take all the money away from everybody right now, in 10 years, we'd all be back at the same spot.
Yeah.
There's producers and there's consumers in the economy.
I think, this has been a super powerful conversation, and the nuggets that you're throwing out are such value. But I do think that there's probably still folks that just don't know where to even begin, right? They're just stuck. What one piece of advice you'd give someone in just starting? The internet's full of information. Your channels are full of free information to get started. But what would you give advice to someone who's just like, man, I don't even know where to begin?
We always go back to 4 or 5 levels of why, right? I'll give you an example. Why do you want to save money on taxes? So I have more money. Okay, great. Why? So I don't have to work as hard. Okay, great. Why? So I have more time. Okay, great. Why? So I can spend more time with my kids. There's the real reason why. Right. But we had to peel the onions we had to peel the layers of onions back in order to get to that real reason why you want to do something. So I would ask you, like, hey, you want to make more money? Great. Why? So you have more freedom. Okay, great. Why? What are you going to spend the time on? Right. So thinking like couple layers deep and beginning with the end in mind, like Stephen Covey says, of like, why do you want to do something? And from there, I watch a lot of UFC and like MMA fighting, and I remember something that Conor McGregor said when he was back in 2015, 2016. He said, if you think about it, you start to speak about it, and what you speak about in this world becomes reality. And something as simple as writing down your goals. People who write down their goals are 70% more likely to achieve them than people who don't. And it goes back to that commitment and consistency, right? Rome wasn't built in one day. You just have to start. And you have to be committed, and you have to consistently build on top of that, right? First client, second client, third client, fourth client. Learn from those experiences, and then you figure out what you love and what you don't love. And then for me, a lot of it goes to another book called The Genius Zone. A guy named Gay Hendricks wrote this book, and his argument was, hey, most people only spend 10% of their total time in their genius zone and 90% of the time doing tasks that they shouldn't necessarily have to do or don't fulfill them, right? But if you can spend 70, 80, or hopefully 100% of the time in your genius zone doing the thing that you believe God put you on the planet to do, see how your life changes.
And it gets to that point of achievement and fulfillment, right? Now it's this dual purpose, like you mentioned, and it's not, I think so many of folks, the way we've been brought up and the way we've been kind of made to think things are supposed to work is that you can create a life to live on your design, how you want to do it, right? But you're going to have to do some of these things. You're going to have to step out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to educate, learn, reach out to the people that can help you. And so, I love that. Ryan, thank you so much. This has been a powerful conversation, but if folks wanted to reach out to you and learn more about the services you provide and connect with you and get in part of your community, where can they find you?
All social media platforms. At Ryan Bakke CPA, RyanBakke CPA. That's Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, YouTube. I also have a podcast called The Ryan Bakke Show. If you're on Facebook, Tax Strategies for Real Estate Investors with Ryan Bakke CPA, over 13,000 people in that community. Wow. And you can also check out my website, taxstrategy365.com.
Nice. We'll put all that in the show notes just so everybody has ways to find you and connect with you. And man, I really just appreciate you taking the time today to share some of your wisdom and knowledge around, not only the work that you do, but what you see with the clients you work with and really kind of just putting it all together. I think it's so much more. Folks think about a CPA and they're like you, I read somewhere on one of your things or heard you talk about, CPA, just do my taxes, right? Like, you are providing such value in such a different way that I think is what attracts people to you and to want to learn more. And you kind of dumb it down in ways that they can understand to get started, which I think is huge because again, it's that, where do I even begin? And so reaching out to you, connecting, and just having that consult with you and your team, I think is a great first step. So I really appreciate you being here today, man.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much for the time.
Absolutely. Well, conversations like that we just had are exactly why I created the Progress Zone. Because real progress doesn't come from just doing more. It comes from understanding more, choosing better, and showing up consistently. So Ryan, thanks again for the work you're doing and for the impact you're making. I know this conversation is going to help a lot of people.
You're welcome. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And to everyone listening, just keep showing up, keep doing the work, and keep making intentional progress every single day. And I'll see you next time inside the Progress Zone. Thanks for joining me in the Progress Zone. If today's episode gave you a spark, share it with a friend, subscribe, or leave a quick review. And remember, progress isn't about being perfect. It's about showing up. I'm Jody Donaldson, and I'll catch you next time inside the Progress Zone.